Senator Warren's state director. It is such an honor to be part of her team of dynamic, fantastic, wonderful staffers here in Massachusetts and in DC. And it is our privilege to work in service of all of you, our constituents here in Massachusetts. We appreciate you taking the time to join us tonight. We know you're all gearing up for a big snowstorm this weekend and probably doing things remotely with kids and work. But I know the senator has several exciting things to discuss with you all, some action items I think she has for you. And of course, she certainly wants to hear from you about what is important to you and your community. So without further ado, I would love to, and I'm honored to introduce our senior senator of Massachusetts, Senator Elizabeth Warren. Senator.
Thank you, Nico. Thank you very much for the introduction. And thank you for all that you do on behalf of the people across Massachusetts. We really do have a great team here working on behalf of all of our people. So thank you, and thank you for your leadership. And hello, Massachusetts. I wish that we could be doing this together in person. We know that's just not possible right now. I hope everyone on this call is staying safe and healthy and warm. I'm out here on the porch. I've got my turtleneck on and my little heat thing cranked up. But I wanted to take a chance this evening to share with you a little bit about what I'm working on, and then just to answer as many questions, to talk about whatever is on your mind. So over the last year, the Democrats have delivered on two major pieces of President Biden's agenda. The American Rescue Plan, which provided over $8 billion right here in direct aid to the Commonwealth to expand vaccines, to safely reopen our schools, to help small businesses, and to help Massachusetts families be able to make ends meet. And then that was followed up in the fall with the bipartisan infrastructure plan, which will provide more than $9 billion right here in Massachusetts, basically to revitalize our crumbling infrastructure. That means roads, bridges. It's also got a big chunk of something I work very hard on, and that is enhancing public transit, moving to electric vehicles, electric buses, school buses, clean and safe drinking water, upgrade our sewage systems, and promote broadband access all across the Commonwealth. So this is just the start of what Congress can do to help working families by boosting our economic recovery and fixing our crumbling infrastructure. So those are good things, but boy, we have a lot more work that we need to be doing. So I wanted to share just a few priorities with you, and then I want to hear directly from you about what we should be working on together and how to continue amplifying and supporting the needs of the Commonwealth. So first, two legislative priorities, what Congress needs to do. I should say three. First one, obviously, is voting rights. Last week, Democrats put voting rights legislation on the floor of the United States Senate. All 50 Republican senators lined up against it. We tried to block their filibuster, and we were 2 votes short. We just couldn't do it. But I want you to understand this. I am not giving up. Our fight to protect voting rights and to defend our democracy is far from over. All American citizens have a fundamental right to vote and to get their vote counted. And neither one side nor the other has the right to keep people from voting or to try to tilt the count in their favor. We need a level playing field on voting. This is what our democracy depends on. The stakes are too high. And so in the days ahead, the weeks, months, I'm going to keep pushing every way I can to strengthen and protect our voting system. So that's the first one. Second, support for our restaurants. This is one we need to do fast. We know that small businesses across Massachusetts are hurting, and I'm fighting to try to get more help. Earlier this week, I sat down with restaurant owners from across the Commonwealth. I heard firsthand about how hard they've been struggling. They've just faced hurdle after hurdle, a pandemic, new variants, cold weather, so that they can't eat outside anymore. And look, our restaurant owners have really gotten creative. They and their staffs have worked so hard and struggled to keep the doors open. And so here's the thing, it's kind of the good news and bad news all at once. The American Rescue Plan, the plan that the Democrats passed last spring, included relief for restaurants, bars, food trucks, and it worked, but we didn't put enough money into it. So basically, only about 1 out of 3 of the restaurants that applied for help actually got the help they need. And that remaining 2 out of 3, they need help and they need it now. So that's why I'm co-sponsoring a bill that basically just refills the restaurant revitalization fund so that the money is there to turn that program back on. We know how to make it work, turn it back on, and give aid to the small restaurants, small businesses that were closed out at the beginning and haven't gotten any help. I also understand this is something that we just can't delay on. We need to get it through, and we need to get it through now. Uh, Restaurants are hanging on by their fingernails. They need help now. I want to see this money out the door as soon as possible. And I'm pushing everything I can to move this up in the priorities and get a vote on it on the Senate floor. So that was the second item. Third item I just want to mention is Build Back Better. I'm sure many of you are wondering what's next for Build Back Better. And I'm not going to hide my frustration with where things are. We need to get as much out of that package across the finish line as we possibly can to make a difference in people's lives. We need to extend the child tax credit, which expired this month. We need to keep those payments coming to the 660,000 families right here in Massachusetts who depend on it for groceries and paying bills and diapers and making ends meet. And we must invest in universal child care. I've said it all along, child care is infrastructure. We need roads and bridges for people to be able to get to work. We need to invest in childcare so people can go to work. We need to invest in our childcare providers, raise their wages so they have a living wage and can be in the profession they want to be in, and invest in our families to say, if you've got children, we are here for each other. We all want to invest in our children's future. So powerfully important. We're going to be right back at work on whatever it's going to take to get Build Back Better across the finish line. So other legislative things we can talk about, but one other thing I want to mention before I go to questions, and that is a non-legislative thing, canceling student loan debt. Erasing $50,000 of student loan debt is the single most effective executive action that President Biden can take toward repairing our economy and helping close the racial wealth gap. If people are not weighed down by student loan debt, more Americans can start a family, they can buy a home, they can launch a business that they've always dreamed of. Student loan debt is holding back our economy. Student loan debt payments have been paused, but they're going to restart May 1st. Now is the time. Don't start those payments again without doing big, broad cancellation. And let's do it before May 1st, before those payments start again. So I'll just say it, President Biden, I'm calling on you. Cancel $50,000 of student loan debt. Look, we've got a lot going on. We'll be back in Washington on Monday. The decisions that we make in the next few weeks and months on voting rights, on Build Back Better, on student loan debt cancellation, and more are going to set the course of our country for decades to come. Now is the time for us to raise our voices. Now is the time for us to fight. So I am really happy to be here with you all tonight. Nico, how about if I stop talking and tell me who we've got first for a question?
Thank you, Senator. And folks, when you RSVP'd to join, many of you raised your hands virtually to ask questions, so be ready. I'm going to call on you and try to be like the Senator when she cold calls on people. But be ready to ask your question. But I will take moderator's prerogative first, Senator, and kick it off with a question about some important news that came out that we heard today about Justice Stephen Breyer's retirement. Can you tell us your reaction about his announcement today?
Sure. Stephen Breyer has been an extraordinary public servant. He went on the court in 1994. He's written some very important opinions about protecting a woman's access to abortion, about protecting the Affordable Care Act so people have access to health care. What Breyer stood for is that the court should not be political, that the court should be even-handed. It should, that the rule of law is paramount, and that res judicata, powerfully important. We're going to miss him. He has been a very effective jurist. I do want to say, though, that I am so delighted that President Biden has made clear that he is going to honor his campaign promise to put the first Black woman ever on the United States Supreme Court. And here's the really super good news, and that is he's got a lot of really terrific women to choose from. So I wish Justice Breyer well. I like him, I know him, but I'm also excited about seeing a new generation come onto the court. And I think it's going to be terrific. I'm really looking forward to this.
Yes, very exciting. And as you always say, Senator, strong women get it done. So great. Well, we will start with the first question or second question from Corey from Newton, who has a question about climate. Corey?
Hey, Corey.
Hi, Senator Warren. How exciting to see you and chat with you in person. Sorry, my video is not showing, but
that's okay. Your video picture is fabulous.
Thank you. That was a moment on the beach, and it just represents the delicate balance that we have in terms of the future and how we're going to manage to move back from the brink on the climate crisis. Obviously, some of us have been working very hard on this issue and are very concerned at the slow pace. And of course, the Build Back Better Act was a severely compromised next step, and now we're not sure it's going to pass. And I guess I'm wondering from your perspective, how you think we can move forward, particularly with the huge corporate and fossil fuel industry influence, continued drilling approved by Biden on public lands, and refusal to stop these pipeline investments, infrastructure investments. So yeah, just tell me where you're at with all of this.
Okay.
This project.
So let me start with the good news. And that is, we have a big climate package right in the middle of Build Back Better. And although I was talking about the child care part of this, I think it's going to go through pretty much as it is. Now, is it everything we wanted? No. Do we need to do more on certain topics? You bet we do. But it's about $500 billion in moving us as quickly as we can to a greener world. It's about energy production, part of what I identified, getting rid of diesel buses and school buses, and moving to plug in more wind and solar power. And here's how I think of it. I think we've got a really good chance to get the package we've got now. It's not the package we started out with, but the package we've got now in a final version of Build Back Better. I want to be very careful here, never to negotiate against myself. Obviously, I want more. But to get that package as part of what we get across the finish line. Remember, we've got ways to pay for it, including my part that I got in here, that no more having companies like Amazon that make $1 billion in profits pay nothing in taxes, that raising a corporate minimum tax is going to give us a lot of money to be able to help pay for this. So we get this piece moved, and then I'm going to go to part two, and that is expand our lead in the Senate. If we had one more Democrat on the Senate side, then we would have a stronger climate package. The House is ready to go. And I know that we don't know for sure what will happen in the election of 2022, but it is really important to understand. Let's take what we've got right now and build back better, and just fight with everything we've got to expand our lead in the Senate and to hang on to the House. We do that, then it's going to be time in 2023 to really move in other areas where politically, I'm just blunt, we can't get it done this year. So that's the plan going forward here. It's work to get BBB across the finish line, and then it's get focused on this election in November. And we're going to need you in this, Corey.
I'm there, 110%. I'm trying. I have been trying on the state level and locally. So I appreciate what you're saying. I just wanted to highlight one little piece of what I was asking, which has to do with Biden's decisions, executive decisions, to do things that he promised to not do things he promised to do, and to expand oil and gas drilling. Do you have any opinion on why there is such reluctance to take advantage of the power that he does have to move us forward, particularly in shutting down fossil fuel infrastructure construction and drilling?
Look, you already know where I am on this, on the drilling, on the new construction. And all I can say is, believe me, I not only push out loud, I push quietly as well. When I talk to a lot of people on the team. And I think the good news is, it's not, again, not as much as we wanted, but moving in the right direction. And I feel the urgency of this moment, but I am not without optimism. And I hope that's where we can stay on this. We just have to keep fighting for this and pushing everybody associated with the administration. And remember, we have lots of allies in the administration. So for example, when we're talking about federal lands, Deb Haaland, who is the first Native American woman to head up the Department of Interior, and very strong on the environmental issues and about the use of our public lands. I see her as one of our strongest allies in their fighting for a sustainable world for all of us. So I hear you, I hear your concerns, and I just want you to know, we stay in this fight. We stay in this fight because we have no choice.
Thank you, Corey. Up next,
Thanks,
I see
Corey.
we have a question I see from Rose from Newburyport. Rose, you're up.
Hi, Rose.
Mute, and I'm not sure. Where's my video? How do I get my
It's
video?
okay. If it doesn't
Okay.
come up,
All right,
it's
that's
okay.
fine.
We can hear you.
Oh, Elizabeth, I just want to say how wonderful and how, first of all, just how heart-lifting it is to actually have you in the Senate representing me, because you really do represent me. And it almost brings me to tears. And at least I know that our state and myself and many in the state are actually being heard. So thank you for that.
That's very sweet. Thank you.
Yeah, it's really very meaningful right now. I see that. I mean, we really have to ensure that the way in which the United States is actually going right now, and it's going in such a backwards way. I can't even believe that we're even talking about things that really were settled a long time ago. But it feels as if we are actually redefining, or like what the future will be in coming up for the next generations. So of course voting rights is really important. Women's rights are really important. We shouldn't even be discussing this anymore. So, are you, I mean, what are you doing to actually help us or be able to direct what is going on to really keep these rights going? I mean, because I see them, every day they're just things are being eroded. And when we have book burning, we have people that are talking about, if you're a gay child in Florida, you can't even be talking about this. This is ridiculous. So
I agree. So I tell you what, there are two ways I look at this. We have, for a century, relied on the Supreme Court to be there to protect individual lives. So it was the Supreme Court that did Brown versus the Board of Education. Now, Congress stepped up with the voting rights laws and the civil rights laws in the mid-'60s, but then we relied on the courts to protect and expand. And basically, what we're seeing is much of the legacy of Ronald Reagan pushing back against that and starting with the Supreme Court. And through the years, the Republicans have pushed for an ever more conservative court. And of course, with Donald Trump getting 3 nominees to the Supreme Court, we now have a supermajority of extremists in the United States Supreme Court. That means they are not there. They are not there on civil rights, and they are certainly not there on women's rights. Indeed, it has been pretty clear that the lists that Donald Trump used had been pre-screened to make sure that these would be people who would not support a woman's right to make her own decisions, her own healthcare decisions. So I have 2 responses around this. The first is we need to change the Supreme Court. I do not come to this lightly. It is not what I want. But a court that is getting so out of step with mainstream America, more than 70% of Americans want to see us keep the rule of Roe versus Wade, and yet we may have our toes right on the line of just entirely losing it. People want to see us get money out of politics, and yet we've got an extremist Supreme Court that has just opened the floodgates for dark money. People want to see the right to join a union protected and unions able to bargain, and yet we've got a Supreme Court that has gone in exactly the opposite direction, just over and over and over. I think that to get this court back in balance, I have come to the conclusion that Congress needs to exercise its constitutional responsibility, and that is expand the number of justices on the court. Others have made other suggestions, like put in term limits on the justices. Those are not bad suggestions, but none of them are provided for in the Constitution, so they would take a constitutional amendment. The one that's provided in the Constitution is that Congress decides how many people sit on the court, and we have changed it 7 times in history, and I think it calls for a moment when we've got a court that is actively undermining the efforts, as you say, that we work for so long, much less what we need to build a stronger, more inclusive nation going forward. So that's part 1. But part 2 is Congress needs to step up and do what we can. For example, Roe versus Wade. We can protect a woman's right to access to an abortion by statute. We don't need a Supreme Court to do that. But to do that, we got to get rid of the filibuster. There is no way we're getting 60 votes on that, not in the foreseeable future. Here's the good news. When I first started talking about getting rid of the filibuster 3 years ago, what would it be, Nico? 3 years, 4 years ago? The number of people in the United States Senate who thought that was a viable alternative, you could count them on the fingers of one hand and have fingers left over. But last week, 48 senators said, at least in the context of voting, they are ready to make a significant change to the filibuster. And many are willing to make it across the board. So It is changing. Think how different last week would have been if we'd had two more Democrats in the United States Senate. That's why I'm really getting focused on the November election. But Congress has a responsibility, in my view, to step up in areas where the court is not. So that's how I think we go forward. We've got two options here: change the court, change Congress. We need to do both of them.
Thank you, Rose. Next up, we have a question from Katie from Somerville, who wants to ask about the cost of housing. Katie.
Hey, Katie.
Hi. Sorry, I didn't expect to be called out. Yeah, I was curious.
This is real.
It's real. Yeah, I'm shocked. I was curious about what Congress could do about the cost of housing, because I feel like I have a good job. I went to UMass and it was relatively affordable, but I still have school loans. And I help my family out with money, especially during the pandemic when some of them lost jobs. And it feels like I can never get ahead, and saving up for a down payment feels insurmountable. And I know you've talked about school loan forgiveness as helping with that, but housing my rent is insane, and house prices are insane. So what could be done about some of the housing issues going on?
Okay, I got a plan for that. Housing, it's a basic supply and demand problem. And that is, over the last 3 decades, our population has grown, but our housing supply has not grown to keep up with the growth in the population. Why is it not grown? Well, for a couple of reasons. First one is developers, and I'm not mad at them, it's just reality. When I was growing up, they were building those little 2-bedroom, 1-bath house with the garage that could be converted into a bedroom for my 3 brothers. In other words, modest, affordable housing. And that's where the expansion in housing was. 50s, 60s, 70s. They've made the switch, and now what they build are many fewer McMansions. And I get it, there's more profit in that, but the point is it has affected how much housing supply we have. The second thing is federal government. The government used to put a lot of money into building affordable housing. And then in the 1990s, it just got out of the business. And in fact, it not only got out of the business, it made it worse. Basically passed a law, it's called the Faircloth Amendment, that says for every unit of affordable housing that the federal government would like to add, they have to take a unit off the market. So think about that. That happened in 99. So over 20 years, our population gets bigger. We've got more people, young people who are coming out. They want to get started in housing. And what happens? Literally, the federal government has said, we're going to make sure the supply stays the same even as the population grows. So what can we do about it? We can help build more housing. I mean, it's just that straightforward. Put money into housing, and we can do it in lots of ways. Partly it's partner up with developers. Partly it's about encouraging cities and towns to develop more efficient zoning, and that will help lower costs, and more efficient building codes. Put federal money up to support that. Put federal money up to help support better infrastructure. So if a town will go in with another town and they'll build more dense housing, the federal government could pay for a part of it and pay for the new public school that's going to be needed if families with children move in. But you get the idea. We have to go back to making housing a priority for our nation. One other thing that I want to add to it, and that is an argument I make all the time when I'm in Washington. Transit is housing. If we build a stronger transit system, it changes housing prices. So think of it this way. If we really would put the money in and build east-west rail, in a way that's fast and effective and efficient. So you can get on the train in Springfield. There's one stop in Worcester where you can get on, and it's got one drop-off point somewhere in the Boston area. And that thing runs, run 5 an hour for 3 hours in the morning and 3 hours at rush hour in the evening, and then a little less often during the day. If you could do that in a pretty limited amount of time, think how that changes access to housing. You could live in the Worcester area, you can live in the Springfield area and have jobs in Boston. It helps build the economies out in all three places. And to me, same thing is true South Coast. We need a commuter rail line, faster, that works. If we do that, that's how infrastructure can help produce economic development throughout our Commonwealth, and at the same time help bring down costs for families, because you don't have a lot of people competing in one area for housing and then many fewer people competing in another area. Dadgummit, there is a lot we could be doing here, and I feel really frustrated right now that we're not. But Build Back Better has money in it, both for housing and expanded on transit. Here's the bad news. I don't know for sure if we're going to be able to hang on to it as we go forward, but we've now got 48 senators who think it's a darn good idea, and that is progress, and makes me hopeful that what we don't get to do this year, we get to do in 2023. But we need to make these investments. You are exactly right. Things are wrong right now when families are having to pay so much for housing, when individuals are. So I hope we can get this together, and I hope you and I can both be fighting for it.
And Katie, you may be interested to know that the senators filed legislation. It's a bill called the American Housing and Economic Mobility Act, to do exactly, as you mentioned, Katie, to really tackle our country's housing crisis. So we can certainly send you some more information about the senator's bill and follow up with you on that. So thank you for your question.
Thanks, Katie.
We're going to hear next from Deborah from Burlington, who has a question about money in politics.
All right. Take it away, Deborah. Deborah, are you muted? We can't hear you.
Oh, we might not have her. Deborah, are you there? All right, we will move on to our next question then. And one thing I do want to note, folks, as you are getting ready to ask your question, and again, be ready because we will call on you. Because of the number of folks who are on this webinar, we're not able to activate your videos, but rest assured we can hear you loud and clear. So again, be ready. So Linda from Wilbraham, you are up next. Linda wants to talk and ask about state of our democracy.
Okay.
No small question there.
Thank you for the opportunity to share both my thoughts and to hear yours. And it is a little crazy right now. I must admit that there are days when I don't want to watch the news because something else horrible is going to happen. But from your perch in the Senate, is there any hope that some of your Republican colleagues will see the light, find their constitutional responsibility, or continue to threaten the very foundations of our democracy? It's unbelievable that voting rights couldn't get through a filibuster carve-out, but that states are doing horrible things in terms of voter suppression. And to quote a former president, it's not who votes, who counts the vote. And I'm really concerned about the pressure being placed on local officials in terms of managing proper voting rights. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Linda, for the question. There is some conversation going on right now in the Senate about whether or not we might be able to get a narrower voting bill that focuses on the counting question. And, there's a little glimmer of hope around that. I just have to say, though, I don't have a lot of hope for what the Republicans are willing to do, so long as Mitch McConnell has said he's going to hold all the Republicans together and they're not going to let anything happen. In fact, his plan, as he has described it, is to run in 2022, the Republicans in the Senate, on the promise that if the Republicans can take back the Senate, they will do nothing. They will pass nothing, not because he thinks that's good for the country, but because he thinks it's bad for Joe Biden. And that is in all politics all the time. And it's deeply, deeply worrisome when one political party says that their leader says they are going to put power and access to power above anything that the country needs or what is good for our country. So I just have to tell you, as honestly as I can, I am really, really worried. It's a reason that I'm going to be fighting hard in the 2022 elections. I'm not up in 2022. I won't be up till 2024. But I'm all in for Republicans and House members because I recognize the threat to our democracy. And I just don't know what else to do except to try to get a majority and beat this back and protect our vote and make the government work on behalf of the people and fight the climate crisis. These are the imperatives for our children and our grandchildren. So I'm in this one all the way. I wish I had something more optimistic to say, but this is the fight of our lives.
Linda, thank you for your question. You must have been chatting with Doug from North Brookfield, and it's a good segue because Doug wants to ask about 2022 elections.
Okay.
So, Doug, over to you.
Thank you. And thank you, Senator Warren, for all that you do. I'm your biggest fan in Central Massachusetts.
Thank you, Doug.
And when we go to the convention here in Massachusetts, we can be pretty sure that we're going to be behind you 1,000,000% as we are. But here in Massachusetts, we need to fight hard to elect Democratic senators in states that are currently held by Republicans if we want anything to happen here, so that we get the Senate to 52, 54, 56 majority. Who, in your opinion, is the one candidate who's up against a Republican incumbent who we should be supporting right now?
Okay, so Mandela Barnes. Now, I'm going to expand on this. For those of you who don't know Mandela, Mandela is running for the Senate in Wisconsin, and he's terrific. He really is. And let me just put it this way. Right now, the Republican senator there is Ron Johnson. If we make the switch from Ron Johnson to Mandela Barnes, this is a big shift in the United States Senate. So I'm all in behind Mandela. We also, I think, are going to have a competitive race in Pennsylvania. Pat Toomey, who is the Republican who's held that seat, is vacating the seat, so it's going to be an open seat. And so we'll see what happens there. But let me make a suggestion here for everybody. Pull out a pencil. ElizabethWarren.com/endorsements. Take a look at our endorsements page. We're already into it. That's Elizabeth Warren, all one word, .com/endorsements. We're already into making some endorsements on the House side. And like I said, I've got Mandela now on the Senate side. And I hope you'll be with us in this fight. These are good, strong, principled people. And we try to identify places where we have a real chance of going from Republican to Democrat. And we've got somewhere where it's about defending incumbents, because that's important too. But starting in on the trying to pick the places where we can make that shift. And just keep in mind, give us 2 seats in the Senate and the whole world looks different. So thanks for the help. Let's get this done.
Thanks, Doug. All right. Next up, we're going to hear from Carol in South Chatham, who has a question about direct care providers. Carol, over to you.
Carol? Are we not hearing you? Carol, we can't hear you. Are you on mute?
All right. I think we may have. Oh, Carol, you there?
Yes.
Oh,
there you are.
Hello,
Hi.
Carol.
Hi.
How are you? I know
Fabulous.
Carol was a bankruptcy judge back when I was teaching bankruptcy law. So we know each other from way, way back in our previous lives.
And I used to sit in on your classes and I loved it.
Thank you. That's very sweet. Good, good. So what's your question? What's up?
Disabled people.
Mm-hmm.
People with disabilities, especially on the Cape and the islands and the South Coast, have been out of program for 25 months, many of them, because of the pandemic. The pandemic just killed our workforce, which is primarily women,
Mm-hmm.
who have children at home, and we need some help. Because without it, our community-based programs that serve disabled people will not survive.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Can you help?
Not only can we help, actually we have. So this is the part I want to start with, Carol. We sent $8 billion from the federal government to the Commonwealth of Massachusetts to deal with these kinds of problems. We recognized in the first rescue package, while Trump was still president, which Democrats went along with that rescue package, I mean, we were part of it too, that we had made the money too restrictive. So we, in this round that we did, and last spring, the Republicans wouldn't join us on it, but we made the money very flexible to be able to meet the needs that different people have in different states. So we put in money, for example, so schools could reopen, so there would be mental health counseling for students. But a lot of it is just unrestricted money that has come into the state. I hope you'll talk to Julian Sear. I know you know him, who represents you out on the Cape, and I know he's terrific. But the money is there at the state level. And that would be the fastest way to get help now, because having people out of program, as you say, for 25 months, that's just wrong. And that is not what we should be doing. The second thing I will say, though, is long-term. I'm going to go back to Build Back Better. One of the features in Build Back Better is to put more money into long-term direct providers. So people who are home healthcare workers, for example, more money so that there's money to cover the services and also to raise the wages, so that people who are doing this very important work can actually survive on what they get paid. So that's yet another reason that I want to support Build Back Better. And actually, this is one, based on my conversations, that I'm very hopeful will stay in the packages that works through. So short term, go to the state. Long term, we're gonna do what we can to just change this whole field from the federal level. And I hope both of those are helpful.
Thank you, Carol, for your question. You thought you were coming here for a Senator Warren town hall, and it's a reunion as well. So
it is.
Folks, this is unfortunately going to have to be our last question, but because many of you wrote in about it, I wanted to make sure to ask. So everybody who asked about it can take credit for it. Senator, you got many questions about the path forward on Build Back Better and specifically about childcare. So can you talk a little bit more about that since you got many questions about that one?
Okay. So let me describe what the program is, and then we'll talk a little bit about the path. The idea behind the program is that families with children just need access to childcare. They need to find childcare. We need more people who are providing childcare. And this was true before the pandemic. Childcare needs to be at an affordable price, and yet it needs to pay childcare workers a much higher wage than families can afford. So the only way we're going to make this happen is if we put federal resources into it. And by the way, this is what virtually every other nation does. They put money into it the same way you put money into public schools. This is a public resource. So we built this program out that basically says nobody's going to have to pay more than 7% of their income. And if you're of modest income, you don't even have to pay the 7%. So it's got a copay of up to 7% of your income. We're going to raise the wages of all the child care workers and preschool teachers, and we're going to help build out the facilities. I was so hopeful that we were going to get Build Back Better across the finish line that in December, I was calling our state reps and Karen Spilka, president of the state Senate, who is a wonderful advocate for childcare, saying, get all your ducks in a row so that as soon as President Biden signs this bill into law, that Massachusetts is ready to go and get this money out to our current providers and tell everyone else who wants to get started on a child care center or wants to expand their child care center that the money is going to be there and all of the children are going to be paying, in effect, the full cost of care. Not if you take children that have federal subsidies, you're going to end up not getting the full cost. It's going to be full cost of care. So I thought we were going to be there in December. Obviously, I was wrong. Here's the good news, though. I have pitched childcare face to face with every single one of my Democratic colleagues, and I mean every one of them, and they are all on board on childcare. There are other places where they're fighting, and look, I can't promise what we're going to be able to deliver on some other things, but dang it, everybody has said they understand the importance of childcare. Big dispute right now over childcare is how many years out we're funding it for. And you know, that's a higher class problem than we usually have in this area. So I believe that we have a real commitment at the federal level to get childcare done. And we've got it in the Senate. We know if we have it in the Senate, we can get it through the House. Like the part I was talking about earlier on climate, we've got a big chunk that I think we've agreed on climate. We can bring down the cost of prescription drugs. Nobody asked me about that tonight, but I want to just mention it because it's also something that everyone seems to agree on. In particular, for anybody who's listening who is diabetic or has a family member who's diabetic or a neighbor or friend, somebody you love, help is on the way if we can get this package across the finish line. The guarantee is nobody would have to pay more than $30 a month for insulin, which for some people would just be life-changing. So we've got some big pieces that we have universal on the Democratic side, universal agreement on, and we've got, I think, all 50 of us on board for a package of how to pay. But it's like a 1,000-piece puzzle. Having 990 of the pieces together doesn't quite get you where you need to be. So we still have to do the negotiation over, are there going to be some things that have to be left behind? Are there going to be some things that have to be changed? There's also a little bit of negotiation on the pay for side. including, look, I'm still pushing to get a billionaire's income tax in there. I'm nothing if not persistent, which would give a whole lot more revenue that we could use. So we got to get those last pieces together. But I'm really hopeful that our country, for the first time, is going to really take a significant step toward making sure that childcare is available for all of our children, for all of their parents, and for the childcare workers who want to make this their profession, but can't do it if we're going to pay less than working the cashier box at McDonald's. So I'm very hopeful if we get this package across, and it's very much, let's get done what we can get done. We can do a lot of good. And that's the spirit with which I enter into this right now as we go back to Washington and sit down at the table again and try to get Build Back Better across the finish line. So, Nico, anything more I ought to cover? Anything I left out?
I think you covered a lot. And on that hopeful note, we'll have to say good night to our friends who have joined us. And thank you again so much, everyone, for taking the time to be with the Senator this evening. And thank you for all of your thoughtful questions. We hope you all stay safe and warm in the storm this weekend. And with that, Senator, I'll turn it back over to you for closing comments.
Okay, and it really is that. I go down to Washington. I'm so proud to be from Massachusetts. And one of the reasons I'm really proud to be from Massachusetts is you all. That there are a lot of things you could be doing on a Thursday night, but that you will take an hour out of your time to talk policy, listen policy, think about it, ask smart questions, be engaged, ask how you can be more in the fight. This is how we make our democracy work. And it is an honor to be your elected representative down in Washington, to be in this fight. Because coming from Massachusetts, I know I'm never fighting these fights alone, that we're in it together. So thank you all. Stay warm.